العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. Okay. It says باب الرجل يصلي وقد أخذ المؤذن في الإقامة. A man's praying individually when the caller to prayer, muazzin, has started the second call to the prayer. So it's أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا الشريك بن عبد الله ابن أبي نمير, I believe, not نمير, أن أبا سلمة بن عبد الرحمن بن عوف قال: سمع قوم الإقامة فقاموا يصلون فخرج عليهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال: أصلاتان معا؟ So he said, Sharik ibn Abdullah ibn Abi Numair informed us that Abu Salama ibn Abdul Rahman, so tabi'i, right? So this hadith is mursal, said, some people heard the second call to prayer and stood up to do individual prayers, right? So if you remind ourselves of the khilaf between on the mursal hadith. So do you trust people that you trust, but do you trust the people whom the people you trust? Right? So for example, Adib or Muhammad says, can I leave my son with you for a bit? And I say, sure. So he trusts me, right? He's going to leave his son with me for 2 hours while he goes shopping and comes back. So he trusts me. Does Muhammad trust the people that I trust? So now, while he's gone, I leave his son with somebody else whom I trust. And then he comes, he says, Fareed, what's your problem? I said, oh, yeah, I had to go and do something, so I left him with somebody else. So he says, Fareed, with all due respect, you're my teacher, this, but I left my son with you. I did not leave my son with somebody else. I said, yeah, but you trust me, right? So yeah. So you trust the people that I trust? No. You see this? So this is a discussion here in the Mursal Hadith. Do you trust Abu Salama? Yes. Who's Abu Salama narrated from? I don't know. He wasn't there. So do you trust the people that Abu Salama trust? If yes, then it doesn't matter. I don't know who his sources are, but I trust Abu Salama and I trust the people he trusts. And if it's Abu Salama from somebody, from the Prophet ﷺ, I trust them all, right? This is one approach, right? And that's the logic for the mursal. There's a gap in the chain, but I trust Abu Salama and I trust whoever Abu Salama is narrating from. Not a problem, right? Not a problem. Right? Now, Imam Shafi'i says, I trust Abu Salama, but I don't trust the person who he trusts. I don't know who that person is. He needs to tell me. Abu Salama from Fulan. Who is this person? Because you weren't there. Right? So it's a mursal hadith, there's a gap in the chain. I don't know what's going on. It's not reliable. Right? Now that's from the logical point of view. From a practical point of view, right? When we look at the muhaddithin are saying we don't trust mursal hadith or certain mursal hadiths because we have seen that kind of chain transmission is often problematic. We've noticed that when so-and-so narrates from so-and-so and then gap, we don't know what's going on. Mistakes have actually happened, meaning we have seen other versions of the same information that is incorrect. And other times we've seen so-and-so from so-and-so and then gap, and we don't have any problems. For example, Abu Hatim al-Razi, he said, the marasil of Hasan al-Basri, right? He said this about the marasil of Hasan al-Basri, tabi'i. He says, Qala Rasulullah, the Prophet did, the Prophet said. So mursal hadith. Did you trust Hasan al-Basri? Yes. Do you trust the people that Hasan al-Basri said? Yes or no? Right? And so Abu Hatim Razi, he said, I've never seen a hadith where Hassan al-Basri quotes the Prophet ﷺ and then it's totally wrong. What does it mean totally wrong? Meaning there's other hadiths that are totally different to it. It's like the opposite. So it's not known. It's not so what they're trying to see is how often does this result in errors? Oh, I've seen cases where this person narrates with a gap. I don't know who he's narrating from. And then contrary information comes once, twice, three times. So now as a system going forward, I'm not going to trust it. Okay. As opposed to Imam Ahmad was asked the question. So as opposed to that example there with Abu Hatim Razi, if I forgive me of I'm just trying to give the example if that's correct. But you see it in yeah, you see it in the Tarjuma of Hassan al-Basri and other places. And another example, for example, is Sa'id ibn Musayyib, right? The faqih mufti of the Qadi of Medina, okay, narrating from Sayyidina Umar. So Imam Ahmad was asked, Sa'id ibn Musayyib narrates from Sayyidina Umar. What do you say? Is it rely on it? Do you not rely on it? He says, totally rely on it. Why? Because he's a specialist of the aqdiyah, of the judgments of Sayyidina Umar. In fact, he knew more about the judgments of Sayyidina Umar than the people of his own time. So notice the way of the usuliyin is they're trying to have a mantiq, they're trying to have a logic, trying to have a system. The logic or the system of muhaddithin is actually very practical. It's like when dealing with the transfer of information, when is it usually reliable, when is it not reliable? Right? Given that Sa'id al-Musayyib has never quoted Sayyidina Umar in a way that is contradicted by other people, we'll rely on it all the time, even if I don't have corroborating evidence. Because we've never seen that Sa'id al-Musayyib narrates Sayyidina Umar saying something and then it's wrong. So he must be always right. Does that make sense? So the muhaddithin, they're coming from practice. That's why if you look at hadith, for example, hadith sciences, so like who codified hadith sciences? Like Ibn Salah. How is it possible that Ibn Salah in that what the 6th, 7th century, like how did you not have a system? So we had a system, but we were very practical. We did this thing of traveling from city to city to city and collecting hadiths. And naturally, we got to know who narrators were. And naturally, we got to see who would narrate a hadith in one way and not another way. And naturally, we got this knack of kind of seeing what's going on. It's a non-theoretical, very hands-on science, hadith science. Whereas usul al-fiqh is not like that. Usul al-fiqh is based on practice, based on theory. So I'm trying to give a theory there, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, Ustad. Can I ask a question about
Mm.
hadith narrators? Like those who are considered weak. What do we call them? Like those who
So someone who's weak, daif,
no, not the hadith. Like the there's a
الرواة,
narrate.
narrators, hadith الرواة, ورواة الحديث.
So so they. I mean, what do we call a person who is not
Hadith narrator
reliable
is called a rawi, a rawi. Mhm.
and someone who is unreliable
It's called daif.
in the chain?
Yeah. So the hadith is called daif, and the person is called daif as well. He's called weak.
So how?
So
So
what it
like
means is that
let.
statistically, we have seen that you narrate certain hadiths in a way that other people don't. And so it's once, twice. So for example, I ask you, Muhammad, what time's the class? And you say it's 9 o'clock. I ask Adib, he says 10 o'clock. Muhammad, what time's the class? At 5 a.m. I ask somebody else. Every single time I ask you a question, somebody else gives a different answer. That doesn't happen with Adib. I asked Adib a question. I say, where is Spain? He says, in Europe. I ask somebody else, where's Spain? He says, Europe. Oh, so I've noticed that whenever Adib tells me something, other people corroborate it. Whenever you say it, other people don't corroborate it. So now, next time I ask you a question and there's nobody else to corroborate what you're saying, I'm not going to trust you. That's life.
Okay, then my
You're
next
not you're
question
not
is
born weak. It's not like you're just like, oh, he's weak. Like it's that you
yeah.
narrate hadiths. We've noticed so many times that you narrate a hadith in a way that other people don't narrate it. So therefore now you're weak. And now next time you narrate a hadith and nobody else narrates it, I'm not going to trust you.
Okay, okay. and it's
An issue of
only based.
statistics. So it could happen once, right?
Okay,
Adib once narrated, said something, and he was wrong, but it's not regular, right?
okay.
I'll give you an example right now. I'm going to turn the recording off because just in case. Um, Let me resume it here. So he says, Malik informed us from Sharik ibn Abdullah from Ibn Abi Numayr, informed us that Abu Salama ibn Abdurrahman ibn Auf Tabi'i said, some people heard the second call to the prayer and stood up to pray individual prayers like sunnahs. So the Prophet ﷺ came out to them and said, are there two prayers at the same time? And so as we mentioned, before we pause the recording in the Shafi school. If you're not confident that you're going to finish your sunnahs before the iqamah, don't pray them. Khalas. And that includes the two rakats before Fajr. Now, for the Hanafis and I believe also the Malikis, you still pray the two rakats before Fajr, even if the Fard has started, on the proviso that you're confident that you're going to finish your two rakats before Fajr before the Fajr itself finishes. Right? So it mentions there. So Muhammad said when the iqamah is announced, it is disliked for a man to pray a non-obligatory prayer. The only exception being the two rakats before Fajr, where there's no harm in a man's praying them, even though the mu'adhin has started prayer. Right? On the contrary, he should do so. How do I know that? So even if I don't have any evidence, I know that the way of the Hanafis or Malikis or Imam Muhammad is he's only going to say this because certain Sahaba did it. I don't even have to research it. So for fun, I'm going to research it. But what's going to happen is certain Sahaba are saying do it, and Imam Shafi would say, yeah, but the Sahabi is not approved. The Prophet said, don't do it. And I don't really know why they're doing that. And there are only a few of them, so we're not going to follow them. Whereas the Hanafis or the Malikis are going to say, no, this Sahabi is doing this. And A, this is the way of Medina, or B, this is the way of the Kufans. And so we're going to do it, right? So if you just pause the recording a second here. So evidence that we pray the two rakats of Fajr, even if the prayer has started. Here we have from Ash-Sha'bi, Shabi from Masruq, one of the great, that circle of Abdullah Mas'ud. He said he entered the masjid and the people were praying Salat al-Ghada, Fajr. And he had not prayed the two rakats, فَصَلَّاهُمَا فِي نَاحِيَةٍ ثُمَّ دَخَلَ مَعَ الْقَوْمِ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ. Right, this is exactly it. So you're like, oh, Hanafis, they do bid'ah. It's like, what are you talking about? That's not Hanafis. That's Masruq, for crying out loud. Right? That's Masruq. So this is like, it's nothing to do with Imam Abu Hanifa. He's just gathering the fiqh of the Salaf. So this is what Imam Muhammad is saying. Yes, go ahead, do it. Because we've seen the Salaf do this. Right? أنه جاء إلى المسجد والإمام في صلاة الصف صلى ركعتين قبل أن يلج المسجد عند باب المسجد. So he didn't. Yeah, this is Sa'id ibn Jubair of the students this is the great Shaheed Hajjaj, I believe, killed him. But Sa'id ibn Jubair, student of Ibn Umar, a student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, one of the greatest fuqaha ever. Right? Sa'id ibn Jubair, he said, someone asked him a question. That's another point. Anyway, so that's what he did. Even though, well, Imam fi Salat al-Fajr, the Imam is what he praying. So the Shafi'i saying makruh. So fine, you're saying makruh, but Sa'id ibn Jubair, who's a great faqih, student of Ibn Abbas, student of everyone, is saying, fine, do it. رأيت رجلا يجيء وعمر بن الخطاب في صلاة الفجر فيصلي ركعتين في جانب المسجد ثم يدخل مع القوم في صلاتهم. So this is Abu Uthman. I don't know who this is. Abu Uthman, that is. So there's something missing here. رأيت الرجل. I used to see men do that. So during the time Sayyidina Umar, people would do that. أن ابن مسعود وأبا موسى الأشعري خرج من عند سعيد بن العاصي فأقيمت الصلاة فركع المسعود ركعتين ثم دخل مع القوم في صلاة. Right? وأما أبو موسى فدخل في الصف. Right? It's Abdullah Mas'ud. When you say Abdullah Mas'ud, you mean the Hanafi school. So it's not the Hanafi school, it's Abdullah Mas'ud. Right? قلت لطاووس أركع ركعتين والمقيم يقيم قال هل تستطيع ذلك? Can you? Not really sure what that means. Not really sure understand what his response is. So Ikrimah ibn the student of Ibn Abbas asks the same question. He says, recite and don't recite. فإن قرأت فخفت صلاته. I think he's just talking about something else. About how long you should recite it for. Notice Mujahid, student of Ibn Abbas. إذا دخلت المسجد والناس في صلاة الصبح ولم تركع ركعتي الفجر فاركعهما وإن ظننت أن الركعة الأولى تفوتك. Even if you're going to miss the first rak'ah. Notice this, right? So this is student of Ibn Abbas. ابن عمر يفعله وحدثني من رآه فعله مرتين. جاء مرة وهم في صلاة فصلاهما في جانب المسجد ثم دخل مرة أخرى فصلى معهم ولم يصلهما. Notice Ibn Abbas, Ibn Umar did both apparently. إبراهيم النخعي كأنه كان إذا جاء الإمام في صلاة الفجر أن يصليها في المسجد. Here's a problem then, right? So Ibrahim al-Nakhai, didn't he just say before that you're supposed to do it? يصليهما على باب المسجد أو في ناحيته. Right? So maybe he didn't like it when praying right next to the group. Allahu A'lam. From Abu Darda, إني لأجيء إلى القوم وهم في صفوف صلاة الفجر فأصلي ركعتين ثم أنضم إليهم. Notice that. أبو درداء. من صليها قبل أن تدخل المسجد إلى آخره. Right? So notice there's a tuhma, right? So that the khilaf is not who's doing bid'ah and who's doing sunnah. The khilaf is how do we do sunnah? Imam Shafi is saying sunnah is hadith, whereas for Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, no, it's not necessarily like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, Ustaz, alhamdulillah, it's very clear. And but what books are these? Like what type?
This is one of many. So this is just a collection, one of many books. Just so if you can imagine the world of Imam Muhammad, or the world of Imam Hanifa, they are studying with the Salaf, and they see these things. These are things that they're familiar with. So they'll say the Sunnah is this, meaning this is what we see the Salaf doing, right? Somebody who was born in the year 80, right? Imagine you're born in the year 80, right? And you're Imam Abu Hanifa. So what is ambient to you? What do people do? The students of these people, what are you familiar with, right? So these are books that collect athar, right? So like the Muwatta of Imam Malik collects athar. Like so the books that I referred to were the Musannaf of Abdul Razzaq as-San'ani and the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah. They're just very large, and you just have lots of things because they're late, right? The Muhalla of Ibn Hazm, right? It's late, that's very late, but you're going to see athar, right? Anybody who's collecting athar, the Sunnah, Ma'arifat Sunan wa Athar Bayhaqi, Imam Tahawi. So Imam Tahawi can do that all the time. Imam Tahawi can say, yeah, this is fine. The Sahaba did it, Tabi'in did it, etc. Right? It's not an issue.
Athar,
Uh,
what is Athar again?
say it again, sorry.
Oh,
Athar meaning footsteps, the footsteps left by the Salaf.
and do they have like chains as well?
Yeah,
Like
so this exactly every
okay,
single thing has a chain transmission. Every single thing,
okay.
right? A book has a chain transmission. A quote, a line of poetry, poetry has a chain transmission. Everything comes from somebody, from somebody, from somebody.
And why would Imam Shafi, for example, I mean just generally,
Imam Shafi
why
is
did he
saying,
prefer?
Imam Shafi is saying, and nobody, Imam Shafi is not accusing anybody of doing a bid'ah. Or
Yeah,
Imam Shafi is saying, methodologically, putting a fatwa of a Sahabi or fatwa of a Tabi over a hadith is methodologically wrong because
okay.
they are not prophets. So we have hadith and we have consensus and we have analogy and we have what? And Quran. That's the deen. So methodologically, if there is no hadith to go against the hadith that I'm quoting, you're wrong. You can't say somebody did it or some people did it. You can say everybody did it. That's fine. That's not a problem. Here's a hadith. Everybody acted contrary to the hadith. Not a problem because that's consensus. But you can't say three of the great, the argument. See the rhetoric I was using. Ibrahim Nakhai said this. Wow, right? I'm just trying to give that. I'm trying to be like devil's advocate, trying to show the rhetoric. Imam Shafi says Ibrahim Nakhai is not a prophet. He's not a prophet. So if he says contrary to the hadith, what does that mean to me? Nothing. Unless I agree with Ibrahim Nakhai's understanding of the hadith, but I don't. So and a mujtahid cannot follow another mujtahid. Again, take an example of children. You do not believe in this Islamic school, right? Islamic school in Kenya. Okay. I've sent my son to Kenya and you don't trust that school. Is it halal for you to send your kid to a school that you don't trust? No. You feel it's going to be bad for your child to go there, and you're like, well, Sheikh Farid did it, so I just follow him. The ijtihad is if it's in curriculum, maybe. If the ijtihad is in safety, no. You can do ijtihad in safety. I can do ijtihad in safety. A mujtahid cannot follow another mujtahid. So you are not allowed to just follow somebody else. Can't do that. So Imam Shafi says, listen, you and I, we have the Quran, we have the Sunnah, we have Arabic language, we have all these athar in front of us. I can't just blindly follow you. Right? If you don't know, that's fine. Go ahead. If you don't know anything, that's fine. Go ahead. Follow Ibrahim Nakhai, follow me, doesn't matter. But I can't follow you. Right? That's why at the end of the Imam Shafi has these arguments between him and Imam Abu Hanifa, him and Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas, you said, oh, la mastam nisa means intercourse. Where does it say that in Arabic language? That la mastam means intercourse. You and I both know Arabic language. Imam Shafi is a specialist in Arabic language. Right? They used to call it Lughat Shafi. He used to speak in such a unique way. There's certain dialects that only he spoke in, right? Certain phrases that only he used. So I'm a specialist in Arabic, you're a specialist in Arabic. Where in Arabic language does it say that lams means intercourse? Or are we going to assume it's metaphorical for no evidence, right? So I'm not trying to argue for and against, but just saying it's a methodology, right? There's a difference. Okay, but I'm just saying here we see, so classic scenario, Malikis or Hanafis go against a hadith, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're doing that because Sahaba and Tabi'in did it. So the khilaf is not between Imam Abu Hanifa or Imam Malik and the hadith. The khilaf is between, am I going to follow this hadith in this way, or am I going to follow certain fatwa of Sahaba and Tabi'in? Simple as that. And you might find, I'll give another example, it's the opposite with Imam Ahmad. And it's maybe slightly different for Imam Ahmad, but say Imam, we're going to see later on unrefundable deposits. Right, later on in the book. He's going to quote in the Muwatta that the Prophet ﷺ forbade unrefundable deposits. Imam Ahmad says it's halal. Why? Because Sayyidina Umar allowed it. So he's saying the fatwa of Sayyidina Umar is either stronger or more comprehensive than the hadith that is possibly right, possibly wrong, that Imam Malik narrates. Right? But the tuhma, the accusation that somebody is doing bid'ah is azim, right? It's like he's saying something huge. Right? So the Salaf, like Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, they only go against a hadith because it goes against Salaf. So the issue is a hadith or over hadith or a hadith over Sahaba and Tabi'in. It makes total sense, right? It makes a lot of sense that if there's a verse of the Quran or hadith and great scholars of the Salaf are saying contrary, to follow them. Right? Now, when it's consensus, there's no question. I'm not talking about consensus. When everybody agrees, but the issue is, so you are in Kufa, Ibrahim Nakhai says, no, it's fine, go ahead. Abdullah Mas'ud, you're in Kufa, and Abdullah Mas'ud, your sheikh or your sheikh's sheikh, saying, yeah, that's really bad, don't do that. Right? You're in Medina and you remember your dad telling you that Ibn Umar said, yeah, whoever lies down after praying the 2 rakas after Fajr, the shaitan's playing with him. Right? You're like, forget it. Why would I do that? Even if you narrate the hadith. And even you say the Prophet used to do it. The Prophet used to do it. And then you say, the Prophet used to do it because he was tired. You're not tired. Right? Ibrahim Nakhai, he said, yes, the Prophet raised his hands before he went to ruku', but he didn't do that all the time. Oh, subhanallah. That's what it is. Right? The Prophet did it, but he didn't do it all the time. So the Shafi's going to say, yeah, the Prophet did it sometimes and didn't do it other times to show that it's sunnah. Right? And Ibrahim Nakhai is going to say, the Prophet did it sometimes, but didn't do it most of the times to show that you can, but you don't have, but it's sunnah not to do it because he did most of the time he didn't do it. See the logic? Right? But the idea that somebody's coming with something from their pocket, right? This is impossible. Make sense, inshallah?
Yes, it's done.
Okay. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك